Hi everyone, I think I'm live. Welcome to another one of my LinkedIn live events. Today's topic is going to be how to choose the right career path, a lesson in career confidence. Now, if you know me and if you've read my work so far, you know that I coach around confidence. I'm a life coach by profession. And career confidence is something that I tend to get a lot of. Oh, just one second. I think it's fine now. Okay, I'm not sure if you were able to hear me before, but I think you'll be able to hear me better now. All right. So I'm just going to recap what I said. In this live event, we'll be talking about how to choose the right career path, a lesson in career confidence. Now, I tend to coach around confidence a lot, and career confidence tends to be something that people pay attention to very late in life, or either they pay attention to it when they feel that something has seriously gone wrong. And even in that, what I have found is that people tend to wait for things to get worse. Like if they're feeling that, okay, I'm not in the right career or things are not going well in my career, they ignore it. They wait that, okay, you know what, one day things will change, one day this will happen, one day that will happen. They think that, okay, if I get one more promotion, if I get more money, my problems will be solved. Or they switch careers based on simply advertisements that they're seeing, LinkedIn ads that they're seeing, influences that they're seeing. So there is a lot of misinformation about how do you really choose the right career path. And this results in most people being very unsatisfied in their career or feeling like we have to compromise, right? I meet very less people who, tell me that, you know what, Priyanshi, I'm really happy in my career. And that is why when I was pivoting my career from being in human resources to being a full-time coach, I also went through stages of confusion. I also went through stages of what it feels like to be in the middle of that confused state and getting to that clarity state, and being in that middle of, oh my god, I feel so stuck, right? So that is what I want to talk about today. Now, if you are someone who does not know, I also have a life coach training and monetization program coming up, which is launching this Saturday on 22nd of June. This is for aspiring life coaches and even current life coaches if you would like to refresh your coaching skills and you want to learn how to actually monetize your life coaching, right? How do you actually get information about this program is you just join me in the webinar that's happening on 22nd of June, Saturday, 11 a.m. IST. And you do that by joining my community called the Empowered Coaches Community. You will find the link to that in the featured section of my profile, or you can just DM me webinar and I'll send you the group link. All right. So we'll begin. I'll just quickly check if my audio and video is working fine, and then we will start. Okay. I think it's working fine. All right. So, if you're attending this live event for the first time, how I tend to go about this is that I'll be explaining to you a topic in depth. I'll be taking subtopics beneath that. And if you have any questions, you can just, DM me, or you can just put your questions down in the comment section. And I tend to keep checking my phone in the middle of the event as well to answer your questions right away. So, if you have any questions, feel free to send them. Now, this particular event is not just for people who are freshers or who've just graduated, or people who are just picking a career path. It's for people who have spent their career or spent their time building a career for at least 5 to 6 years as well. As well as this live event is also for people who are in their mid career. The reason being that there is an equal amount of confusion I've seen in all of these generations. Like most of my clients are people in their 30s and 40s. Okay, that's there. So I find that at least people in their 20s these days are questioning things, that they're not suppressing their feelings. They're actually questioning that, okay, you know what, I don't like this. So maybe I should think about what I really like. But what I'm seeing in the previous generation is that they tend to suppress their feelings. They suppress their feelings to a point that one day they either have a midlife crisis, or they suddenly realize, oh my god, I've been unhappy all the time. And then they feel this crunch that, oh my god, what should I do? They feel stuck. And at that point of time, some stop upskilling, so they get laid off. Some people feel so disappointed that their performance goes down, and again it may result into getting laid off and not getting the promotion that they want. So not being in the right career and suppressing that feeling. Like your gut feeling always tells you that this career is not right for you. You will always know that something will feel off, right? And when you suppress that feeling, the repercussions will come. Okay, either the repercussions are something that you will face head on, or there will be a lot of side effects of it, right? So please do not suppress that feeling. If your gut feeling is telling you that my career is maybe not the right choice for me, okay, talk to a coach, tell them about it, and be honest with yourself, right? So this live event is for everyone. Honestly, now that I'm doing this live event for you, I'm also recapitulating my phase of when I was switching my career, and even to this day I ask the same questions again. I still check whether I'm aligned to my career or not, even in the present. All right. So a successful career is, consistent of majorly two things. Okay, one is your interest in the craft, second is your life goals. So these two conditions, when they are met, it results into a successful career, because that is a career you actually want to take efforts in. And when you take efforts in a career, you're obviously going to succeed in it. Now the first part is being actually interested in your craft, being actually, like liking your craft. Now what do I mean by this? Now the thing is that a lot of people take career decisions based on aspiration. They look at a certain lifestyle and they take a decision based on that. So I'll give you an example. I was going to give this later on, but I want to give it now. So I have spoken to a lot of people, okay, and they have told me that, what, Rianshi, we are doing this. We are pursuing for UPSC. We are pursuing, for like preparing for CAT examinations. We want to do an MBA. We want to do. We want to do this. We want to do that. But I'm not able to study. I'm not able to do this. I'm not able to do that. And whenever I go deeper with them, what I find is that they actually don't like the craft of it. They like the aspiration of it. So I have actually heard UPSC aspirants tell me that, what, Rianshi, once I become an IAS officer, I'll be so respected. I'll be this, I'll be that. Their inclination towards actually serving the society. Okay. If you tell them that the prestige is gone away from the job, 95% of people won't even do it. They won't actually pursue UPS. They won't actually prepare for UPSC. 95% of them pursue it because it's considered a matter of pride in their family. So they are not actually in love with their craft, right? Similarly, what I've seen with people who also prepare, and again, I'm not generalizing, I'm telling you my experiences. People who prepare for CAT, they only want to do an MBA because they think that, okay, this is what is going to give them, a higher salary. They have not researched anything about, okay, this is what I will have to do, or what I might do, or they research it on a very, surface level. For example, I have spoken to marketing people, product managers. I've spoken to people in strategy. The only thing that they found fascinating about that was, we'll get to travel, or we'll get to work with this, we'll get to work with that. They don't have a deep understanding of the craft in itself. If you take the prestige away for a while, because obviously it happens, they will lose all their interest and motivation. And that is why such people tend to face a career crunch, either, now or later. Or if they don't face a career crunch, they are extremely dissatisfied with their careers. So the very first aspect of actually choosing a right career is asking, do I like the craft of it? Not the money part, not the prestige or status part, because again, this is an illusion. That is the illusion that, advertisements or education institutions try to sell you, that once you do this, you will be so respected, you will be so rich, you'll be this, you'll be that. In reality, nobody can guarantee you that, right? So people go into a career thinking in terms of the aspiration, right? Thinking in terms of the status, thinking in terms of the money, not really thinking, is this the work I even like or not, right? So when you are choosing the right career path, no matter where you are right now, maybe you're just out of college, maybe you have been in your career for 5 years, maybe you're a mid-career professional, wherever you are, ask, do I actually like the core work of it? One of the reasons I found that I was so disinterested in the work that I was doing, because I was also supposed to pursue a master's degree from abroad in the same field, which is, by the way, human resources. It was one of the world's top 10 colleges. And the place I was working in was also nice. The culture was pretty good, but the work that I was doing felt so meaningless. Felt like I was using maybe 2% of my brain instead of 100% or even 90%. That I just felt extremely demotivated, and I felt like, I am the most replaceable person on earth. Anybody can replace me, because the work that I'm doing is not only very simple, maybe very replaceable, but also this is something that I hate. So even though every other thing was going right for me, okay, I was supposed to go for a master's as well. The company was very nice, the people were very supportive, and the culture was very nice and everything. I still could not do it because the work in itself was very, very, not aligned to me, I would say, right? So ask that before I go for a competitive exam, before I, you know, go for another certification or whatever the hell it is, ask, do I actually like the actual work that I'm doing? The craft, right? Not the prestige, not the money, the craft. That's the first aspect of it. Most people get this wrong, right? They run behind the prestige, they run behind the illusion of something which is again sold to them, right? For example, a while back there was a wave of people going into product management. Oh my god, product management is this, that. You get to be, you get to head the product from A to Z and all of that. So people thought, oh my god, that's creative and all of that. A lot of creative people who didn't want to go down the creative path and wanted to go into safe path went into product management and found out for their horror that it's not exactly that. There's a lot of technical work and they hated that, and a lot of repetitive work as well, right? So if there are certain keywords in your mind that, you know what, I love creative work, I love, let's say, talking to people or stuff like that, be focused on that. Don't assume that just because a career involves a very little part of what you like, I will like the entire career. For example, a lot of people who think that, you know what, I'm a people person, so I will go into human resources. They go there and they find out there's a lot of administrative work as well. So they don't find the details about the craft. They get disillusioned, okay, because they don't want to explore their interests more because they're so scared, right? They just want to find a stable path. Again, stable is an illusion. Or they just want to, catch up with the world, or they just want to get a job, that they don't actually sit and ask themselves, what am I doing? What does this job actually entail? So just because you're a people person doesn't mean that you will do great in human resources, or even if you do great, doesn't actually mean that you will like it. Similarly, if you're a creative person, doesn't actually mean that you will like product management, or maybe, let's say, marketing. Or maybe, let's say, you are someone who likes to create an impact, doesn't actually mean that UPSC or, being an IAS is for you. So please, 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 you know uh, study about the craft. Okay, what does the craft involve? Because if you don't like the core work, then this is just living in an illusion, right? I'll tell you what, when I was doing my job, the most favorite part about my job was me talking to people and actually helping them solve certain problems. That was the only part I liked. And that was what, just 1 or 2% of it. 98, 99% was work that I did not like. So that happens, okay? And if you don't like major chunk of your job, right, if you don't like 80, 90% of it, then it's not the right career for you. See, there will always be sometimes where you might like certain parts of it, you might not like certain parts of it, but there should be a balance. The things that you do not like should only be 30%, 30, 35% maximum. Because if it goes beyond that, then you're not going to be able to stay in that career for long. Because you can't convince yourself if you're unhappy every single day. You may be able to convince yourself for a week, for a month, for a year, for 2 years, but it will catch up to you. And that dissatisfaction that you have with your career, because you have to understand, you're spending 8 hours a day, okay, in a job or in a business, whatever. You're spending 7 to 8 hours in a day. How long are you going to convince? You cannot. It will catch up, and that dissatisfaction will lead to stress, also leads to lowering of your confidence, leads to anxiety, leads to health issues, goes spills over in your relationships as well, with your partner, with your kids, with your parents, with your friends. You will often see that people who are unhappy in their career become very dull after a time. Just a while back, I spoke to someone who told me in a clarity call, just I think 3 days back, that Rianshi, I have forgotten how to be happy. I don't know how to be happy anymore. I don't remember the last time I was happy. And I mean, his conversation with me was also about that he's not actually happy in the work that he's doing. And he's not the first person I've spoken to. I am a prime example of that. I, for a large part of my life, have been a confident person at least. But the only time I've not been able to be confident is when I'm inauthentic. And when I was doing my job, somewhere I was being inauthentic because I was trying to convince myself that that's how jobs are. You don't like it, you do it, right? So my confidence did go down. I also started feeling very bad about myself. So you must understand that you cannot lie to yourself. So be honest. If you don't enjoy the craft of it, if you're just running behind a lifestyle, which is again a lot of people do. A lot of people just stay in the job because they think that it'll get them a certain lifestyle, it'll get them a certain status. But you have to understand that high that you're chasing, that I will tell people I have this car, I will tell people I have this bank balance, that high is for 3 seconds. But you have to spend years in a career. So you have to like the craft of it. Okay, if not 100%, at least 70%. Now, coming back to life goals. So your the right career path will also meet your life goals. Now, what are life goals? Life goals are financial goals, your family goals, your personal goals. So, for example, family goal could be that, let's say you are married and you're about to have a child, right? So the right career path you're in will also meet your family goals, where you're, let's say, able to pivot, or you're able to, have a lesser workload in your office. And again, I'll tell you what also happens here when you are in the wrong career path, or when you're just working for money or prestige or status, whatever. When you actually want to pivot, right? When you actually want to pivot, or maybe you want more space or more time in your personal life, what's going to happen is that the fact that you are not happy in your career will hit you even harder, right? Because when you're happy with the work that you're doing, even the compromise doesn't feel like a compromise, or even the adjustment doesn't feel like an adjustment. But when you don't like what you do, it will take one or two minor inconveniences for you to feel that, oh my god, what the hell am I doing? I'm not even happy at the work that I'm doing. So what is this? Because inconveniences will happen no matter you are in a career you like, no matter you are in a career you don't like. This is an illusion that we have, that if I'm in a career just for some illusion of stability, things will always go right, when in reality that's not the case. Life hits harder when you are in a career where you are not enjoying yourself, right? So your career also needs to meet your life goals. So I highly encourage you, after thinking about what is the craft that I actually like, right? Think about what are the life goals that you have. For example, when I chose life coaching as a one person business, right? So I was always very, very clear from the beginning that I only wanted a one person business, because I don't enjoy working with people. One. Second, I'm an introvert, so I don't enjoy interacting with other people a lot as well. So working alone is something that I deeply, deeply love, right? So that was one of my personal goals, that I want to work alone. I've always enjoyed that. Another one was financial goals. My financial goals were very clear, that I never wanted someone to put a cap on my finances. So obviously that I got from my one person business. And another one of my goal was that I wanted to do work that mattered, right? That matters to me, where I don't feel replaceable, where I feel that I am actually important, right? Where I feel that my work is important, it is making a difference in the world. So these were my life goals, right? Independence, both in terms of financial and time. Another was I wanted to work alone. Whatever it is, I wanted to do it alone. And third one was that I wanted my work to matter. So when I was, pivoting from, my job to a full-time life coaching business, in terms of career, these were the things that ticked off. So even today, okay, obviously businesses also has its ups and downs. Even today, when I'm not having an up, if I'm having a down, I'm still grateful. I'm very grateful, because I really would not want to do anything else. If someone comes and asks me that, you know, if you had $10 million in your bank account, because actually one of my friends did, he asked me that, Rianshi, if you had $10 million in your account, would you still work? And I said I would, because I love my work so much. So it does not matter, okay? After a point of time, money stops mattering, because you cannot work for money always. It will come to a point where the dissatisfaction will become so high that even money won't motivate you. So be like, understand the nuance of it, okay? A lot of people think very short term, in terms of, oh my god, it's getting me money now, so let it be. And then later they realize. So, yes, money is important. Keep that in mind. But also keep in mind that for a long career, for a long successful career, you actually need to like what you do, whatever it is, right? All right. Now, let's try to understand why do wrong career choices happen in the first place? Like, why do we choose wrong careers at all, right? So, before I go there, I'm just going to recap that two things to keep in mind. One is your interest, your craft. Again, craft. What is the craft that you would love to do? So think of three or four people. It could be anyone, it could be some influencers, maybe it could be someone in your family, maybe it could be someone you know. And think about that. If I had to trade places with this person, would I love to do what they're doing? Or what are the few people come to you in your mind when I ask you that, when you look at this person, you feel like, oh my god, I'd be so lucky to do that. I felt that, when I had my first coaching session, where I felt like, you know what, I would love to do this. This is something that would be my dream career. So think in terms of that. Again, not in prestige, not in status. That is a byproduct of a good craft, a good career. So don't run behind the aspirational lifestyle. Come back to the craft of it. That what is the craft I would love to do every single day? Could be anything. Okay, now before moving to the next topic, I will see if there are any questions so far. Okay, I don't think we have any questions so far. So in case anything does come up, feel free to comment or DM. All right. So why do we take wrong career decisions in the first place, right? So the very first thing is not knowing our interest, right? um, See, there are two types of people. Okay, one are people who are completely unaware what their interests are. They're just completely unaware about it, and this unawareness is often a result of lack of exploration. They have not actually explored anything at all. They have not taken an interest in, you know why do people like something, or what does a career actually mean, what are the different types of career. Second are people who know what they like, but their what do you call this, fascination or attraction to stability, things like stability, or the fears around money, or around status, or what will people think is so high that they suppress their desire. They suppress their real interest, and they convince themselves that, you know what, yeah, this is something I like. So I'll tell you a story about someone. I had a friend, okay, and she always wanted to get into the creative field. She always wanted to go into, creative, into some sort of art, right? Be it let's say graphic design, or be it I think she wanted to be a fashion designer, from what I know. So when she told her parents that I want to do something creative, her parents told her, do marketing, it's creative. And my friend convinced herself, literally convinced herself, that, you know what, marketing is also very creative, let me do that. She went and she is doing marketing right now, and she's very unhappy, and she somewhere blames her parents as well, right? So just because a profession has certain words like creative and this and that doesn't mean that it is actually your calling, right? So, you know one kind is when people are extremely unaware, they have never explored their career. For them, exploration is the first thing you need to do. Go on Google and literally see what are the types of career that exist. Ask yourself, what are the people I feel attracted to, what are they doing in their life, right? For example, I was someone who was always attracted to personal growth. Like, it came very naturally to me, right? Being attracted to spirituality, psychology, all of that came very naturally to me, right? So you also have natural interests. So ask yourself, what is something I feel naturally gravitated towards? But if you come in the second category, where somewhere you have a faint idea that this is what I like, but you suppress your desire, you suppress that interest, because you feel that, maybe mom and dad know more, maybe, everybody's doing this, let me do this now, after 10 years I will pursue my interest. Don't do that, because none of that actually happens. So here you need to work on your confidence. You need to work on your confidence to speak your truth out loud, that this is what I like. The very first time I said out loud that I actually wanted to be a life coach, I sort of laughed a little bit, because it felt surreal. That what am I saying? What the hell am I even saying? Because people didn't even know what a life coach is. At least today, people know a little bit. Post COVID, there has been a lot of awareness about it, but it wasn't the case back then. So you must tell your truth. You must say that this is what I like without convincing yourself. I've seen a lot of people do that. They know what they want, but they convince themselves out of it to conform to a box that the society has created for them, or to conform to the dreams that their parents, have seen for them. Or maybe they're too afraid. They think that they can't do it. They are afraid that, oh my God, I will never be able to make money from it, or I will never be able to have the lifestyle that I wanted, yada yada yada. This results in an unsuccessful and also unfulfilling career. Mediocrity is not a result of people not having talent. Mediocrity is always a result of people refusing to work in their zone of genius. Zone of genius is where you feel naturally gravitated towards. For example, if someone were to tell me to, you should, pursue something in mathematics, maybe I will try to convince myself I am a hard worker. Maybe I will work hard to become good at it, but I will always be average because I am not operating in my zone of genius. But when I am a coach, I know I am operating in my zone of genius. I know that it will not take me very long to become the best in what I'm doing. So, mediocrity is always a result of that. It's not the result of you not being talented or hardworking. It's always a result of you refusing to work in your zone of genius. Reason could be anything, right? And second is forcing yourself to liking something. Now this can come from multiple places. This can come from pressure. Peer pressure could be a thing, could be family pressure, could be your own internal pressure, that I have this dream of this life, that life. If I pursue this, it will take me longer to become this, become that, so let me abandon the career that I want. Let me go for the stable career, right? A lot of people do that. Now, third is a bit of a deeper topic. It is on childhood trauma. By the way, if you're someone who has never gotten trauma work done on them, or who doesn't know how trauma actually affects their life, I have done a lot of live events on them, on trauma and how it affects different areas of your life. As well as I have a free 4-day training on healing childhood trauma. You will find it in the featured section of my profile. So just go to my profile and you will find it. It's in our WhatsApp group, the training, so you just attend it there. And if you would like to actually work with me one-on-one, just DM me coaching to book a session. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about childhood trauma. I won't go in depth because it will take too long. So uh, the very first thing that I have seen in terms of career is the people pleasing trauma. Okay, so people pleasing trauma is when you abandon your own needs, when you don't listen to what you want and you listen to what other people want. And for people, a lot of people, this happens when they are people pleasers to their parents, maybe people pleasers to their relatives, maybe people pleasers to their friends. So they suppress their own voice and they listen to their parents, they listen to their friends, and they listen to their peers, and they choose their career based on that. And over a period of time, such people, either their people pleasing trauma deepens, they they always live their life like this. They will always seek validation from other people, that tell me what should I do, or they will build up a lot of anger because over a period of time, after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, they realize that all their life what they've done is that they have thought from a place of, will this make mom and dad proud, will this make me fit in into my friend group, if I do this, society may shun me, so let me not do this. So they spend their entire life doing this only. So this is people pleasing trauma. When somebody is a people pleaser, it is very unlikely for them to actually choose a career that they want, because they are always, specifically if their parents are not really supportive, they are unable to take a stand for themselves, right? They're very much behind, oh, if I do this, mom and dad will be proud of me. If I do this, I will be able to fit in better. If I do this, I will be able to fulfill mom and dad's dream. So everything about them is about pleasing someone. Now, another is overachievers trauma. So, overachievers trauma is basically when your self worth and your self confidence is tied to your achievements. Now, what happens to a person like this? This person is obsessed with achievements. This person is obsessed with money. This person is obsessed with I need to appear that I'm succeeding in life. They're always behind that. And when you are behind that, you will almost always choose a career which will give you the quickest success. So you will often see a lot of people who have overachievers trauma run behind jobs which will give them the most money. They will even stay in toxic jobs if it is giving them money, right? So they will, their trauma response is so strong that they're unable to differentiate between the fear that they have about their image in other people's mind versus what they actually want. They can't listen to themselves. They're so obsessed with money, achievement, and running behind and creating this image of themselves in the society. And this again often comes from when you don't grow up with parents who've given you unconditional love, when you've grown up with parents who only appreciated you when you achieved something. or when you grow up with parents who only like appreciated you when you were doing something that was good according to them. So this person starts to tie their self-worth and self-esteem to the work, to the achievements that they're doing. So again, what tends to happen to such people is that they cannot stay patient. Like they cannot actually stay patient, because anytime they're not achieving, they become extremely anxious. They're very anxious people. They're very anxious about performance. They're very anxious about how much money am I making, what is the title that I have, are my competitors or are my friends or my colleagues doing better than me, or everything about them is achieving and achieving. So as a result, they leave behind their interest and all of that, and they realize it quite later on when they are either experiencing a burnout, or they have realized that they are very deeply unhappy, right? So that's the second kind. Now, the third is the perfect child trauma. Here, a person has a very deep sense of shame. Okay, they don't actually think that what they want is something that is, something to be proud about, or something that will get accepted. So think of it like this. Let's say that you are in 1980s, and everybody around you is either an engineer or doctor or a CA, and you want to, let's say, be a fashion designer, or maybe you want to be a psychologist, or maybe you want to become a coach, or maybe you want to become an actor. What is going to happen? There's going to be a very deep sense of shame, that what I want is shameful, so let me not do that, let me not go after that. So what will this person do? This person will go with what everyone thinks is appropriate to fit in, right? Because they are trying to be the perfect child, either to their parents or to the family or to someone else. So they're always trying to be perfect, right? And perfect people don't make mistakes, right? Perfect people, or people who have this perfect child trauma, they're so obsessed with their image and reputation that they will spend their entire life being unhappy rather than risking their reputation in front of other people, right? So this also results in choosing a career for the because of your trauma, not really because of your desire, right? So the right career comes from your desire, from your authenticity, from your honesty. But people who have trauma don't choose the right career because they are not thinking right, right? There is so much pain, there is so much trauma that they're unable to come out of it. So their response is, be it in relationships, be it in career, is fear driven, right? They don't take decision because they want something. They take decisions because, oh my god, I don't want other people to think bad about me, I don't want to be poor, I don't want this, I don't want to do that. So they're very fear driven individuals. And the thing with fear is that it always exhausts you. It blinds you to possibilities, right? Now, the next point is focusing on only one life goal. Now, what do I mean by this? So, again, one thing that a lot of people do in terms of choose, or who end up choosing the wrong career, is that they're very focused on just one life goal, right? So, one thing that I see a lot of people do is only focused on money, right? And again, this is also a result of having a very difficult relationship with money, and not having a healthy relationship with it, having a lot of fear around poverty, having a lot of fear around you know I cannot rely on anyone, and fears like that. So this is also that fuels wrong career choices. So when you have that, when you're only focused on money, when you're only focused on one life goal, because see, wanting money is a life goal, okay? It's not a wrong thing, it's a very good life goal to have. But if you're only focused on that, you will always end up in the wrong companies, in the wrong profession, because you're only concerned with money. You are not actually thinking about, okay, is this something that I actually like? Is this something that will make me happy? Everything is out the window. The only focus is money. It is one example. For some people, it is stability. They only want someone to tell them, you will never be fired, or you know what, if you do this business, you will never incur losses. So they spend their entire life playing small. They will not take any risk, they will not go for higher positions, they will not take challenging projects, because they're just so afraid that something, some change will happen, they will not be able to handle it. They play safe all their life, again resulting into a very mediocre life, right? And another could be, focusing on other life goals. Like, for example, something that I've also found is, some people are very focused on moving abroad, right? So their entire life goal is, I need to move abroad. And I'll tell you what, when someone has an extremely strong desire beyond logic, it is not desire anymore, it's coming from a place of trauma. And I've spoken to people like this, again, for my own research. I wanted to understand why are people so obsessed with it. And I've found it again and again, is that when people become very obsessed, and I'm talking about just this situation of moving to abroad, I have found that either some people are trying to run away from their country and their home because they think, oh my god, this is where I've gotten, I feel trapped here, and I feel like nobody understands me. People will understand me in a foreign country. Or for some people, it's a matter of pride and status, that if I go there, people will look at me and I will have so much fun and all of that. So they assume, again, aspiration, right? They're not actually looking the realities of everything, assuming assuming that, oh my god, if I go there, everything will be great. Or some people believe that, if I go there, I will make a lot of money and all of that, which is a fair thing you do. But if you only focus on that, you do not focus on anything else. Am I moving to the right area? Am I moving to a company where I will actually be able to feel safe in a different country, and other things like that. They ignore everything, they become focused with one thing. So no matter what life goal is, it could be money, could be status, could be moving to a different country, whatever it is. When you just get focused on one life goal, and you ignore everything else, it will always result into a wrong career choice or a wrong career path, right? And the next is doing what others are doing. And this is again a result of not lack of exploration, and again lack of exposure as well. A lot of people also don't have exposure. So I was also one of them. I come from a tier 2 city, and I come from a city where people only knew three career options: engineer, doctor, and CA. And I was, I think, the only person in the batch of, we had, I think, 120, 140 people who took humanities despite having a 10 CGPA in my 10th standard, right? So everybody was very shocked. Oh my god, Rianshi, everyone who has a 10 CGPA, which is about 95% in 10th grade, in India it's considered board exams are considered a big deal. They're not. So like, people literally talked me out of it. They told me that, what, Rianshi, everybody who has 95%, they go take science, they don't take humanities and all that, because I was interested in psychology. But because I had the privilege that my parents have never ever forced me to do anything, they've always told me to explore my path. And every time I even pivoted, every time I even took a risk, they were very supportive. Because I had that, I was able to. But I also knew a lot of people who wanted to take the same choice as me, but they couldn't because their parents did not allow them to. Also, because nobody around them was doing. In fact, some people thought that I am stupid that I'm doing this. Or maybe, in fact, someone I remember, one of my classmates told me that, what, Rianshi, you just don't want to work hard. That's why you're not taking science. And obviously, ironically, right now and it's not like I'm criticizing them or something. They are, sitting at home not doing anything because they made all the wrong career choices because they wanted to copy their friends. And I'm very grateful for my career. The point is that a lot of times you may have interest that a lot other people may not understand. Like, when I told people that I wanted to do this or I'm doing this, people did not understand. And when what people don't understand, they criticize, right? So here, please work with a coach to develop their inner self confidence. The one thing, right, that I always did for myself was I always invested in myself, in my personal growth. Even back then, when I did not know a lot of career choices, I went to a lot of career counselors. All of them are very bad, I will not lie. But what it gave me was perspective and courage. What I realized was that, what, uh, there is not just three career choices, because I did not feel aligned to all of them, any of them. And even when I wanted to quit my job, I hired my coach, and even today I still have my coaches. So when you invest in your personal growth a lot, your ability to think deeper and more critically is far higher than people around you who are maybe going in a herd, right? Who are walking in herd. So a lot of times it may happen that you may have a career choice that other people may not understand or even like, maybe even your parents may not like. So in that case, develop your confidence. Okay, work on yourself and develop that sense of advocacy for yourself. Like, learn to stand up for yourself, for your dreams. And another thing is that, please research. Okay, please explore. If you feel that I still don't know what I want, it's okay. It's still okay. It's still okay to not know what you want, rather than being in a career that you don't like and forcing yourself to like it. So if you don't know, it just means that you have not done enough research, one. Or maybe you're, like, there is a lot of trauma involved, there's a lot of limiting beliefs involved that is not letting you see what you actually like, right? Could be either of them. So try out the first option. If still after exploring you feel like I don't know what I want, then get coached. Okay. All right, so moving to the last topic of the day, that Okay, not last topic. There are a couple of things I wanted to tell you, certain concepts or ideologies that I tend to share with my clients as well, and something that has helped me a lot. So I want to talk about that. I'll just check if there are any questions so far. Okay, so far we don't have any questions. Today we don't have any questions. All right. So, the concept that I want to introduce you is called the cash and sex theory. Now, what do I mean by this? So, it is from a writer actually. I forgot the name. I tend to forget names a lot. I don't know what the name of the writer is, but the theory is that there are two types of projects we do in life. One are cash projects that put bread and butter on the our, that put bread and butter on our table, which means that they help us in survival, and another are passionate, sexy projects that keep us up at night, right? That we feel very passionate about. At any point of time, we need both of them. If we only pursue cash projects, we will end up being very unhappy, very dissatisfied, and we will lose all our motivation in life, right? We will become like robots, and that is when all the anxiety and depression comes in. If you only pursue passion project, you will go broke, because passion projects require time and effort and investment over a period of time so that they can stand on their own. So you need to combine both of them. Okay, you need to have your cash project while you pursue your passion project on the side, until your passion project can stand on its own two legs and is able to give you money. So I'll give you my personal example. When I decided to shift from my job to a life coaching business, I had, I don't know, maybe 150 200 followers on LinkedIn, zero social media presence. And because I'm an introvert as well, I did not have a lot of physical connections as well either. So obviously, I knew that if I have to do an online business, it's going to take some time. So I had three options at that time. Okay. One was that I will quit my job altogether. Okay. And I will completely go all in that business. At that point of time, that, felt a bit crazy because I did not know where this will go or not. Second option was that I will pursue my job for a while until my life coaching business becomes stable, and then I will quit and go into my life coaching business. Third was I will sit and do nothing and I will cry about it. Okay. So obviously the third option was not the one I took. Initially I went with the second option, that I will do my job and side by side I will pursue my life coaching business. But I hated my work and my job so much that I could not do it. So I quit my job altogether, but with a resolution. And again, mind you, my situation was a bit different. I am single. It's not like I have any dependents on me, neither are my parents dependent on me. So I did not worry about my finances a lot. Even the ones that I had, like I had some savings from the past, so I used that to invest in my business, and getting a coach for myself. So I did that, but I had a resolution in mind that if in the next 6 months I do not make any money at all, I will go back to my job. Okay, so that I can fuel my business, I can fund my business through my job. I made that resolution. I made it very clear in my head. Now the good part was, the month that I started my business, I was able to get two clients, and then the second month I got five clients, and then it has never been a month where I had not had clients. The reason was because I went all in on my business. Right. So even today, when I'm coaching and mentoring life coaches, even when I have this training program coming up, the one thing that I often tell professionals is that if you have a passion, you don't actually have to quit your job altogether. Use your job as a as a fund that you collect for your passion project. That's exactly what I did. I was in a position that I could quit my job, right? But you may be not, right? So be realistic about it. Okay, I'm telling you very frankly, that was not the case with me because I did not have any dependence on me. Maybe if I had a dependent, maybe if I were married or if I had a child or something, my options would have been different. I would have taken the second option. But the third option is not the one you should be taking, where you sit and cry about it, where you sit and whine about it, because a lot of people do that as well. They, even if you tell them the path, they will sit and whine about it. Oh my God, I don't know how to do it. You do know how to do it. You need to start, right? Use your job that you don't like to fund the passion project that you actually love, that you actually want to do, right? Or if you want to quit your job altogether, decrease your expenses. For example, I used to live in Bangalore. My hometown is not in Bangalore. My hometown is not Bangalore, but I used to live in Bangalore for my job as well as my education. I came back to my hometown and I stayed at my hometown for a year, even though I do not like my hometown at all. I don't have any friends there because it was very real for me that I cannot, go and spend whatever I want if I'm not making enough money. And then I shifted to Bangalore when I felt like, what, I have enough savings that even if I don't do anything for a long time, I'm okay. So the point is that whatever option you take a balanced approach. If you cannot bear your job at all, make sure that you reduce your expenses and you have enough funds with you and you are working on your passion project. It's not like you're sitting at home and doing nothing. I mean, sure, if you can afford to do that, that's great for you, but I did not want to do that, so I did not do that. The point is that keep this theory in mind. You don't always have to take the extreme option that I will either quit my job altogether and go and on my business, or I will stay unhappy in my job. You can build things on the side. It will take a little bit more time, but at least it will give you a leeway. At least it will create this insurance path for you. We call this career insurance, right? And a few things that also helped me was, first is obviously working on your trauma. Please do that. If you are aware that you have trauma, if you are aware that you're struggling with your confidence, you're struggling with limiting beliefs, there's a lot of negativity, maybe procrastination and comparison and other things, whatever is involved, take help. Go to a coach and take help. Then another thing is, talk to people who are in the field that you actually want to pursue. So for example, what I did was that I connected with a lot of life coaches and I spoke to them. And even like after connecting, I've learned from them. I've never shied away from talking to people when I needed to talk to, or even investing in myself. So talk to people who are in your field, who are doing good, who are where you want to be someday, and they will be able to show you a very different perspective, because the way they will understand you, nobody else will, right? All right. So I think that is it for today. I have covered everything. If you are someone who would like to have a coaching session with me, okay. So I got lost for a few seconds there because the transformer went out near my place. Anyway, so as I was saying, if you would like to have a one-on-one coaching session with me, simply DM me coaching to book a session. If you would like to get access to my free training on childhood trauma healing, again, go to my featured section or just um, DM me free training. And if you are someone who is an aspiring life coach, which means that you would love to do the work that I'm doing, I am launching a life coach training and monetization program, as I told you. And the webinar for that is going live on 22nd of June at 11 a.m. IST. So you can also join me there. Thank you so much for showing up, everyone. I don't think we have any questions, so I'll still check, but I don't think we have any. Okay, yeah, we don't have any questions, just a few thank yous. And for that, you're very welcome. All right, thank you so much, everyone. And I will see you tomorrow for another live event. Bye bye.